Hi, everybody. This is Arun Gala. My podcast is called Grabbing Coffee with Arun, where you guys know that I talk to everyday people that are doing very interesting things. I love talking to veterans. I like talking to just all kinds of people. I'm learning along with you all. So, my guest today is Kim Malveaux. And Kim, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Just
Thank
to
you
kind
for having me.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Just to kind of start off with, Kim, you're an entrepreneur that's looking to invest in buying
hmm
land and things like that. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I wanted to make sure because I have children and grandchildren that made sure that we had generational wealth. And I figured that the main thing towards generational wealth is, of course, real estate, but a lot of times people think about houses and duplexes and things of that sort, which is great. But land is also extremely great at passing along and passing down generational wealth.
Hmm.
So my goal was to, do that for my family as my grandfather did, because I'm from Louisiana and my grandfather back in 1913, he as a black man had his own, property in Louisiana, his own land, big
Hmm.
enough to be able to put the family house on it, which was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, living room, dining room, and formal living room and kitchen. And then also be able to have a huge backyard with another house
Wow.
um, with that was a 1 bedroom, 1 bath with a kitchen and a living room that my aunt, his daughter, stayed in. So that's what really sparked my desire to focus on purchasing land and buying land and keeping land in the family. And we still have that land, my grandfather's land, to this day.
Hmm. But do you need a lot of capital to buy land, or how does that work?
No, absolutely not. And I think that's the misconception because land is, people just automatically assume land is extremely expensive,
Hmm.
or, you have to have a lot of money to have it or own it. But a lot of times you can find, most houses are like on 0.10 acres, like so 0.10 acres of land most houses are built on.
Hmm.
Some are 0.25 acres of land. And to put stuff in perspective, 1 full acre is equal to a football field. So, that small amount is what most houses are built on. And so people think that it may cost, I think in their mind, the amount of a house, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, but it
Right.
really doesn't. You can really buy like 0.10 acres or 0.25 acres of land, but you can buy that for $4,000 to $5,000.
I guess it depending on the location, right?
Yeah, it depends on location. Of course, if you're in a highly populated area, it'll be more expensive. But if the goal is to like buy land in rural areas or areas that's not overly developed, it could be a developed area where you have water and electric and gas, but it doesn't have to be in an overpopulated area because that's where the price goes up. But if you're smart, you'll buy in a rural area because eventually it will be populated, and then that gives you more equity and more money in your land when you purchase it. Purchasing land doesn't mean you have to come up with a big lump sum of money. There's a lot of financing in land. So just like you purchase a house and you have a house mortgage, you
Hmm.
do the same with land. You can have a land mortgage. And that can be, owner finance. It could be bank finance. And you put a certain amount down. You put earnest money down like you would with a house. And then you would go to the title company. You would sign all the paperwork, put the rest of your down payment, and then you make monthly payments like a mortgage, like a house mortgage, but it's a land mortgage. And that's what makes it really, really affordable for just the regular Joe to go and purchase land.
Let me ask you this though. Do you have to make sure that it's under like commercial property or residential property? How do you distinguish between the two, I guess? Or how would you find out if it's you can use it for commercial use?
Yes, so part of that's part of the research on the land that you're looking at. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people don't know where to begin on finding land, but just like you go on Zillow and look up houses and you get all the information for houses if you were buying a house, you can do the same for land. If you go on Zillow or land.com or discountlots.com, there's a lot of land companies out there, but say you're new and don't know where to look, and you can go to Zillow and you can just put in land instead of a house with 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. You can just put land. And then when you hit that search button, it pulls up all the land in your area. And then
Mm-hmm.
you can go one by one clicking and it gives you all the information. It tells you about the zoning. It tells you whether it's commercial or residential. Which is very important for you to look at zoning because you can't just go buy land and say, hey, I'm just going to put an RV on it because that might be a restriction.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you go on Zillow or you go to land.com or you go to discountlots.com and you go to these different places. They give you all the detailed information on zoning. Of course, even though they give you that information, it's also important for you to look at the county records. And typically they'll tell you, hey, this land is in Cleveland, Texas. This is Liberty County. You
Mm-hmm.
can call the county and you can confirm everything. So you don't even have to take their word for it. You can call the county and say, hey, I'm looking at this land. It's saying there's no zone restrictions. Is that true? Is there, the title company will find out if there's any liens or anything. You with the title company, they do a deep dive into it, make sure there's no liens, there's
Mm-hmm.
no other owners or things of that sort to make sure that you're clear to purchase the land. And then the county can confirm all the details when it comes to zoning.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
So, could you explain the word zoning, Cam,
Yes. Yes.
please?
So zoning is what you're allowed to use the land for.
Right.
And typically the county decides that.
Mm-hmm.
So you may get the county will put a zone and say it's no zoning. No zoning means that you can put whatever you want on it.
Oh, cool.
You can put an RV, you can put a trailer, you can build a house on it, you can make it into a campsite, you can do whatever you want on it. Now a lot of times with those types, if you're going to build a house, you still got to do permits and everything. But as far as the restriction as to what you can build on the land, there's no restriction on no zoning. So there's others that might say commercial use, then that means you can't put a home on that zone when it's zone commercial use. You can't put a house on that. You can only put commercial properties or buildings on that land. Then there's other zones that might say, oh, you can't put RVs, you can't put trailers, you can only build a house. This land is zoned only for residential. Then that means that you can build a house on it, but you can't put an RV on it or put an RV park or put a trailer home, on the land. So that's what zoning is just specifically telling you what is allowed on the uses of the land and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
So, Cam, what do you plan to do with the property that you have in Cleveland? I think you mentioned you have a property in
Ye-
Cleveland, right?
Yes. Yes. So I bought land
Mm-hmm.
in Cleveland. It's 1.3 acres.
Oh, it's
So
big,
it's a
right?
pretty, yeah, it's a pretty substantial piece of land. The land that I purchased it was right at 35,000
Mm-hmm.
for the land. And of course, I did a land mortgage. So I do have a mortgage on the land, which I went through a title company. Mine was owner financed. And then I went through a title company and signed all my paperwork and then have my land mortgage. I also have neighbors, but they're far, it's very rural out there still. So, there's no close, neighbors or anything like that. Do have road access, so I do have a dirt road that's pretty well maintained. That's another thing people have to make sure and look out for is easements. Because if it has an easement, then that means that you got to go through somebody else's property to get to yours.
Hmm.
And that's not typically something you want to do unless you want to spend that type of money to build a road, in order to have, individual access to your land. So in my case, I have a road already I have full access to my property. I already have, there was a water meter there prior, but I have to get a new water meter. And that's not really expensive. That's like $500 to get the water company to come out, put a new meter, run the lines because it's already existing.
Hmm.
And then I also have electric that's already ready to go. So once the water company comes out and run the line and do the new meter, then they will give me a permit to hand to the electric company so that they can come out and set up the electric. I also have a septic. It's very important to have a septic.
Right.
Even though I have a meter and a water, I have that already. I also have a septic. If you're going to do RVs, if you're going to do trailers and things of that sort, then you need to have a septic. Septic is extremely expensive. I was thinking it was around 10,000, but I've talked to a expert in septics and he said no, now they're running about 18,000 to put a
Wow.
septic in. So it's very important that you also understand that, hey, I need to look for land that has a septic on it. And so I also have a septic and had that looked at and it looks good. I just need to get a top put on that. But my goal is to put tiny homes on there for Airbnb.
That seems
And so,
very fascinating.
yeah, huh?
So, yeah, the idea just seems intriguing to me. So,
Yes, yes.
so
So,
tell me, how do you go about like
doing
putting?
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of times people think that's expensive, like, oh, you're going to put houses on here and things of that sort. But no, there's a lot of companies
Hmm.
that do sheds. And when people typically think of sheds, they think of a place that you put your
Tools,
lawnmower and
like
your
you too.
tools and things
Right.
of that sort, which there are sheds like that. But there are also sheds that are buildings that are like houses, that you
Hmm.
can make into tiny homes. They look just like tiny homes. They might be gutted in the inside to where you have to add your insulation and your walls, but that's a really good way to get started,
Hmm.
is to do a shed. Also with a shed, because it's not cemented to the ground, it doesn't have a foundation.
Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to have permits for that. So what you do is you put a dirt pad, a gravel dirt pad, and then you put they come out, they deliver the shed or deliver the home, the tiny home, and they put it on concrete blocks. There's also anchoring that you can do where a company will come out and anchor all sides of the house in deep into the ground,
Hmm.
so you don't have to worry about it moving or shifting or storms or different things like that. And that is really inexpensive. Like the one that I have is mine is a by 15 foot by 30. So
It's
it's
like an average
15.
room in a home, I guess, in Houston, right? No, wait.
Yeah, no, it's big, it's bigger because it's actually 15 feet wide and
Oh,
then
okay.
it's 30 feet long.
Okay, yeah, that's a big room.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a studio,
Hmm.
a nice studio size. It has the bathroom, which I have to have built out, and then you can put a kitchenette in there, or if you don't want to go, just put Make sure you put a counter in there, and then put maybe like a plate, like a plug-in plate, burners that you might want to put there. You don't have to build and
Hmm.
spend all this expensive, money like doing a kitchen that you would do for a house.
Hmm.
Um, and so that shed was that one was, I think, 13.9, so it was like 13,000.
So when you're done, how many of those tiny homes are you gonna have on the lot?
Well, my property, since it's a pretty nice size, it's an
Hmm.
acre, 1.3 acres.
Hmm.
I have four lots that are all together
Hmm.
that equal up to that amount of acreage. I'm going to use one of the lots because the one of the lots are pretty sizable,
Right.
and just put maybe about three to four
Hmm.
of the tiny homes there, that I can put out for Airbnb.
Hmm.
I also did my research and spoke with a lady, that is in Conroe. She's in a rural area. It looks just like my area in Conroe, though.
Hmm.
And she started out with a container home, because there's also container homes aren't very expensive either.
What
You can
are
get
those?
those are like the metal,
Hmm.
just rectangular, metal, looks like a metal box,
I get a
but
feeling you
it's
can
it's a
buy that at
home.
the container store. Huh?
Y-
Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay, somebody
But
else makes those, I guess.
right, right. So there's also container homes,
That's
which
pretty
are
cool,
just
Ken.
metal boxes. And she started with one,
Hmm.
and within 2 months, she had it was booked, fully booked,
Hmm.
and she was able to purchase another one within 2 months.
Hmm.
So there's a huge market out there for tiny homes, container homes, because sometimes people don't want to spend a lot of money taking flights and going out of town in hotels. Sometimes they just want to get away in the nature, and that's
Hmm.
a good way to do it. That's inexpensive.
Have they just recently come up or something, these tiny homes, or they've been
They
around for a while?
They've been around for a while, but I think the one that I'm doing, the Airbnb, and the one that the lady, I spoke to, and went and visit her property, is doing, has
Hmm.
become recently very, very popular. I think within the last 4 to 5 years, they have become very popular, where people just want to get away and they want to get in nature,
Hmm.
and live in a nice little tiny cozy spot that's very aesthetically pleasing,
Hmm.
and it's just a nice little weekend getaway, a nice little 2 days to kind of get away, maybe an hour out of your city, in the rural areas where you're in nature.
Can somebody put these in their backyard if they wanted to? I guess they
Absolutely.
can, right? I mean, there's no,
Yes.
I guess you have to look out to see what if HOA requires any kind of.
Right. Of course, you want to check with your HOA, when it comes to sheds and things of that sort. But yes, absolutely. I know a family that, I seen here recently on social media,
Mhm.
where they have a home. They've been in their home for years. They have a lot of property, and their two daughters just recently graduated high school and is about to start college. And so what they did was they got those tiny homes or the sheds, and got them put in the backyard, a big enough one, because you can get them up to 40 feet. I mean, you can
Oh,
get a
wow.
nice size, yeah. And so they got one of those, and then her and her husband had the people come out, and or got construction crews to come out and build in build the inside of the shed, and had 2 bedrooms. They got a kitchen. They got their own individual bathrooms. And so you have your adult children living on the property, but in their own space, their own houses, and they're good to go. So,
So,
I
Ken, how
thought that
long
was a
does it?
brilliant idea.
Oh, it is. How long does it take to put up one of these houses? Does it take a
It
while, or?
No, it doesn't take long at all. Mine, I was pretty fascinated by mine,
Mm-hmm.
because what happened was I put the order in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, again, I want to mention that if you don't have 13,000 up front, you can
Financing.
also finance those as well.
Mhm.
And when I say finance, it's not credit based. So you can get these financed. Some of them is credit based to where it depends on the company, but some of them aren't credit based to where it doesn't depend on your credit. It just depends on you putting your down payment and paying your monthly
I like
if
your
you don't
idea
have.
because you can actually get that land. I mean, once you get enough houses there, that you could have that land kind of pay for itself, right?
Right. Right. And that's the goal. That's the goal. Have it pay for itself. Also have it to where you have this residual income that you don't have to think about. Of course, you got to do your maintenance and things of that sort. That's the normal stuff, the upkeep, cleaning and stuff like that if you're having people coming in and out. But it's not something you have to, work for or, really think about. You put put the house on Airbnb and it pretty much you have your days open, days blocked that you don't want to rent it out, and days open that you do, and it just it pays for itself.
So Kim, can you have walls inside of these houses too? Like, can you have like
Yes.
separate rooms? And I guess you can, right?
Yes, you can have separate rooms.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of them with lofts, and if you want to make more room for the lower area and then have a loft that you sleep in, depending on the height, um, you can make them however you want to make them because most of them come just a wide open space in the inside. And then you can have someone come in and just do your framing for your rooms, whatever, however many rooms you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do your framing for your bathroom and everything. The company I went through, I wanted them to do the inside. I didn't want to do the walls and the insulation. I wanted that already done. I wanted the electric, the plugs and the electric plugs already set up in the unit. And I already wanted the framing for the bathroom already done. So, and you get to choose the color. Black is my favorite color, so I thought it was very aesthetic for me to on the outside of the house or the
Mm-hmm.
shed to have all black with a black roof. There's really nice windows. When it comes to AC and air conditioning, you don't need a big unit. You just get what they call a split,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a small unit that you put in the shed or the tiny home that does air and heating.
My
And those
God, Kim, you really
costs,
you really did your homework, huh?
oh yes,
I'm learning a
absolutely.
lot. So,
Absolutely. And those cost about three, four, $500. They're not overly
mhm.
expensive. They don't break the bank. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, so have you seen somebody that owns a piece of property and that's got a bunch of these tiny homes on their lot?
Yes, it's the lady that I
Oh,
spoke about earlier.
uh-huh.
She actually purchased 5 acres of land. So she has a lot more land than I have, but she purchased 5 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and she used 2 acres of the land she leased out. That's another thing you can do when you buy land. You could lease out portions of it if you're in the zoning where you be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
She leased out 2 acres to a company,
Mm-hmm.
to a guy that's a mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
and so in his company. So they had that all fenced off and everything. So she's getting money from him on a lease,
Mm-hmm.
every month. And then she purchased her first container home, which I mentioned earlier, was booked up so well that she was able to purchase two more container homes within 3 months, 2 to 3 months. She was able to purchase a couple more container homes. There was a house that was down the road from them, but was kind of close to her property. You could kind of walk from her property to this house. And there was a man that lived there, and he was ready to sell and kind of move on and retire. She made so much money off of her container home profits and her lease that she was leasing the 2 acres out to. She made so much she was able to purchase that home.
Pues digo nada. So anyway, but yeah, all this stuff is pretty fascinating, huh? So
Yes,
how do
yes.
you go about, like, are there companies that sell these kind of container homes, or?
Yes, I don't know a lot about the container homes because
I guess you could
I
just
didn't go
Google.
that route.
You could
Yeah,
just
I didn't go
Google.
that route. I wanted something that looked more like a house, like more
Hmm.
homey.
Hmm.
But container homes, you can
Hello.
find you can find these. You can find them there. You can find them just online. If you do a search, a Google search on container homes, you can find them there. When it comes to shed companies, like the one that I use this company called Sunview. I put the order in, put my down payment. It took them 3 months to build my particular unit with the specs that I wanted.
Hmm.
And then they delivered it. And the delivery, if it's less than 50 miles, it was free delivery.
Hmm.
So they came out, they had sent the company to deliver on my property. I made sure and I did like a pad, the dirt pad with the gravel. I bought the center blocks, that and the company used that. They set it up themselves. So they came out, they placed it, they leveled it, made sure it was level. They put the center blocks down, checked the windows, make sure everything was working properly. And it was just really, really amazing. I have a lot of videos of that whole thing happening. So it was awesome to watch.
Is I'm wondering if somebody wants to watch that, they can get on your Instagram page or your email or something like that, right?
Yeah, actually, yes. Actually, I have a Facebook page that has where I posted the video of them dropping off the shed. It's also on my Facebook and my YouTube, which is both of those are Cree Malveaux. So it's CREMAL V as in Victor, EAUX as in X-ray is my Facebook page and also my YouTube page.
But what are some challenges, Kim, with this doing something like this?
Well, some of the challenges is, pretty much pricing for work. Like when I first purchased, it was a jungle out there. I mean, it was very rural. It was a lot of trees, a lot of, I mean, it was a lot. And it
Hmm.
looks very intimidating in the beginning because you're like, okay, I got all this land, I can't see anything because it's, just all this growth.
Right.
um, I had to figure out who do I need to call to come out because it's not a lawn company,
Right.
that could do anything like that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't call your local, lawn company to do anything. So I did my research and found out that I had to find, people and also people in the area because you got to consider travel. I live in Katy and then my property is in Cleveland. So I'm about an hour and 20 minutes from my property. So I had to make sure I can find someone in the Cleveland area to come out and clear the land. You get all kind of different prices for that type of thing. And I was getting $3,000, $4,000.
Hmm.
I knew that was very steep for 1.3 acres because all you're doing is it's a lot of work, but you're taking a machine and kind of going through and just knocking everything down and mulching everything out.
Hmm.
And then I got some advice from someone that I know that has land and told me, hey, you should only be paying uh 1,500 to 2,000 per acre when it
Right.
comes to land clearing.
Hmm.
And so I went on that and, I kind of negotiated when I talked to these companies that was kind of upcharging me so knowledge is very important to do your research and knowledge to make sure that you're getting the right prices for things that you're doing new because this was all new to me, when it came to land. So I think that's the biggest challenge is to make sure that you're hiring contractors that are reputable contractors and that are not price gouging you, and that you know what the price of things should be, versus just shelling out your money. Also, it's very important to make sure that you never change hands money wise with individuals. You never want to do
You
that.
always keep a
When
paper
you're
trail.
Yes, you want to use companies to do your transactions. You never want to have someone contact you like with mine was owner financing. You never want the owner to say, "Hey, okay, well, give me the down payment, put that down payment in my hand,"
Hmm.
or, put the earnest money in my hand. That's not how that works. Even when you're dealing with owner financing, it's just like a bank. You're going to go through a title company.
Hmm.
The title company's job is to take your money. You're going to write that money out to the title company. They hold that money in escrow when it comes to your earnest money or your down payment. And then, after that, then all your monthly still goes through a company. It does not go to an individual.
Hmm.
It still goes through a bank system when you're doing your mortgage, even with owner financing. So it's very important to do that. And it's also very important to use a title company because they are the ones that do the work of digging and making sure there's no liens on the property, that there's no other owners on the property, and things of that sort. They really get all the information, so you're not in that position where you're purchasing land and then it gets ripped away from you because there's a lien on it or taxes on it or multiple owners.
So Kim, can you contact any real estate agent too? They can sell you a land too,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. You can contact real estate agents. There's not a lot of land agents, to be honest,
Hmm.
but most real estate companies do have land agents. So
Hmm.
even if you call a real estate company, you can, call one and say, "Hey, I'm looking for an agent that specializes in land because that's what I'm looking for." And I'm sure that they can put you with an agent that knows the ins and out of purchasing land.
Let me ask you this. So if you were to just sit on that land for let's say 10 years or 20 years
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
generational wealth or whatever, would that
Hmm.
would that work too? Or
Absolutely. That absolutely works because if anything, by the time you're sitting on that land, that's the good thing about having land. You don't have to do anything with it. You can just collect land, You
yeah.
can have a property here, land here, you can have land there,
Hmm.
anywhere. You can just keep like land just already in the family. And then you never know, like, even with my land, I'm in a very rural area, but say I had done nothing with the land and I have 1.3 acres. Say I just sat on the land.
Hmm.
Um, that my 30,000 that I paid for the land, once that land builds up and once that area builds up and there's Walmarts there and there's corner stores and grocery stores and houses and apartments, that grows my land exponentially.
Right.
It just really, so what I paid for it, if I decided to sell it, I would make a whole lot more money selling it for what I bought it for. So definitely you can sit on land and just wait and watch it grow.
I didn't know anything about these tiny homes, to be honest with you.
Yes, yes. You're gonna have to look up one of them or wait until I'm done with mine and take a trip and check it out. And I think it's something that people get hooked on because it's very relaxing. You get time away without spending a whole lot of money to have time away.
Right.
And it's a quick drive, and then it's a quick drive back home.
When these Airbnb companies, how do they, I guess you fill out some paperwork on their website and stuff like that before they come to you and rent one of your rooms, right?
No,
Or,
what Airbnb does is you post your own property.
oh, okay.
So you go online and
Uh-huh.
you put your pictures, you put the address. Well, you don't put the address because that's not given out until someone books a space. But you put all the pictures, you put town it's in, Cleveland, Texas. I
Mhm.
would put all my pictures there. Airbnb has it built in the way you have a calendar already. You put how much it costs. You put your own rates as to how much you're charging
Mhm.
for them to book the Airbnb. So you do everything yourself. It's like they have the platform
Mhm.
and
Like
you
a
put all
template
your
or something.
information on it.
Right.
Absolutely. And you don't need permission to do that. It's not
Mhm.
like you have to contact Airbnb and say, "Hey, I want to do this." You just go on
And
Airbnb and you
they
personally
have a
rent it.
set fee, I guess, right? Or whatever.
No, you set your own fee.
No, I'm talking about Airbnb that when they charge a fee for you.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. When you say I'm putting it on their platform, yes, there's of course they get their portion of whatever your revenue is out of the your rental.
What about this
But
one
the
called Verbo, VRBO? Is that an
Verbo as
Airbnb
well.
also?
Yes, it's like Airbnb as well. So when you have a property like this, you want to put it on all platforms. So I would put it on Airbnb, I would put it on Verbo. There's also a traveling nurse app that's called Furnish Findings, where it's specifically for travel nurses. You can also put your property there. And the good thing about Airbnb, they don't take a lot of your money. It's not like it's a huge fees
Mm-hmm.
your property on Airbnb. The fees are so minimal that you don't even notice that the fee is gone, or that what fee that they're taking, once you're booking, your properties. What I also like about Airbnb is that they're very good to host. If you have any issues with clients or customers that come onto your property, there's a lot of insurances and a lot of customer support and help for you as a owner to get help and assistance from Airbnb when it comes to anybody doing anything, that they shouldn't on your property.
Man, Kim, all this stuff is very interesting. Let me ask you
Yeah,
one last question.
sure.
Like, I'm kind of curious about, do people actually rent out a room in their houses, say like in Houston or
Mm-hmm.
whatever area they're in? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
is that pretty safe or?
Y- Well, look, it wouldn't be something I would do,
Mhm. Right.
but because I have kids and things of that sort. But I do have a friend
Mm-hmm.
that did that for 7, 8 years, and she was
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with doing that, and she rented out her room on air. She had a 4-bedroom house. She rented out one of her rooms that she wasn't using, and she made a really good income off of that.
Yeah, especially these days. I'm not sure how that
Yeah,
would work,
especially
but
these days. So that's also something to consider. If you're a person that already has a home and you're not interested in land and Airbnb building things and things of that sort, if you have a home and you have your empty nester and your kids are off to college or your kids have moved out, you can always rent a room in your house on Airbnb. And people do that. People make very good income off of doing that.
right, right. Well, Kim, it was very informative. It was really, I really learned a lot. And do you
Awesome.
want
Mhm.
to, if somebody wants to contact you,
Sure.
could you mind giving them your email?
Yeah, sure. So my email is my business email. My business is called the Lunar Property Group Corporation. And the email is info, at the lunar, LUNAR, PROP group, GROUP.com.
I'm glad you spelled all that out for me.
Yes.
So again, if you guys want to reach me, my email is arun.gaalla@gmail.com. Thank you very much for your time, Kim.
No
Very
problem. I
informative.
also want to mention real quick before we leave,
Mhm.
um, I have spent, I've been in oil and gas for over 20 years, so I've put a lot of my own money into my land and my property and building, generational wealth. But I'm also open to investors, whether you want to be a silent investor or whether you want to be, take part in the business side. Of course, that takes a lot of, kind of, business acumen and lawyers and things of that sort if you want to do that. If you don't
Right.
want the hassle of any of that, you can also be a silent investor, also with me and my properties. And want to see my business plan or things of that sort, you can also contact me via my business email that I also spoke about a minute ago.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for being a guest. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Have a
Uh-huh.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.